Hello there, everyone. I am Aaron St. Dennis, and this is the Mad Science Lab podcast. Things are looking up. That's the second time I got to record my intro today, and this time I even decided to press record. The first attempt was not being recorded, so hopefully things are going to look up from here. We're going to continue on. We're going to do some studs and duds here with that series. Jonathan, I told you off already. I can't pronounce it because Jonathan's the name I'm going to screw up. Jonathan Lange, if I could get that out. He is here to join me. Thank you for joining me, Jonathan.
Yeah, thanks, man. Glad to be on.
Glad to have you. You want to take a second? Tell everyone where they can find you and your work.
Yeah, sure. So you can follow me on Twitter at Fourth and Lang. It's on here on the screen. And I actually just had an article be published today on Player Profiler over ADP fluctuations in underdog fantasy best ball drafts. You can check that out, and I'll be just producing and doing some work there.
Sweet. Good to have you. I am excited to hear about one of your players only because I missed on I didn't want I took it to 101 in the Scott Fish Bowl. Didn't really want to go Kelsey because in the mocks where I love Kelsey. Kelsey was my 101. In the mocks where I've taken him, I hated the spot it forced me into for QB. I ended up wasting early picks on QBs that I didn't really like. And in the end, I just said, fuck, I wish I hadn't done that. So I took Mahomes with the intention of letting Andrews, Pitts, and who's the fucking tight end? Hawkinson. Andrews, Pitts, and Hawkinson going off the board. Yeah. And then I was going to snipe one of Kittle, Waller, or Dallas Goedert in the 4, 5, 6 range. Mm-hmm. Well, the plan worked. So I got to, I believe I got to 4, and someone was good. I forget who it was, but I liked the player on the board. And I said, you know what? 4 of them are left. I'll wait till the next turn and get one of the 4 that's left. All 4 of them went, and I ended up with one of the players you're going to talk about later. So awesome. I'd like to hear what you have to say about him next, because he was not a guy. I don't have him anywhere in any of my leagues. So that player would be Greg Dulcich, who we'll get to.
Yeah.
He ended up as my tight end 1. And then my eventual plan was just to pepper the board late with tight ends.
Yeah.
But we're into round 13 now, and I don't think I've taken another one because all the good, like anything usable is gone. So I'm going to be grabbing another like dart throw tight end as a prayer here, but tight end did not go the way I planned in Scott Fish Bowl. And it's funny, we're in the 14th round. So far, my 14 players, I don't believe I roster. Oh, Jesus Christ. I roster CJ Stroud. I roster CJ Stroud in one league. The rest of them I have 0% ownership with. Wasn't intentional. It's all, and I'm in like 40 something in league, 50 almost 50 leagues in county. And I had 0% ownership of all of them. You know, Patrick Mahomes, I never have that high a pick in super flex, stuff like that. So it's an interesting squad. It's 13 players out of the 14 that I've never owned this year. And so we'll see what you have to say on Dulcich. Okay. But before that, let's start with your first stud. We have second-year Jets running back. Breece Hall was RB42 last year, dealt with a season-ending injury. 463 rush yards, 218 through the air, 5 touchdowns, 121.1 full PPR points, good for 12.3 per game. Current ADP is 28 overall on Fantasy Pros. I'm going to let you talk about why you like him a little bit while I look up quickly the ADP for NFFC to see if there's a big difference. So what is it about him you like?
Yeah, so what I like about him, first of all, is the price. If he had played the whole year, had no injury, we're looking at what Jonathan Taylor was after his rookie year. We're looking at a first-round pick. But then there was the ACL injury. And here's the thing is, when you look at how the season played out, he showed incredible versatility. They started out the year, he was doing a split with Michael Carter. And in his first 3 games, he caught 13 passes. So he showed his ability as a pass catcher. Then you saw the snap shares change, and it was like what was once 50-50s, 55-45 turned into, 65-35, and you saw some changes there. And then he was making play after play after. I mean, he averaged. Let me get it here. He averaged 93 rushing yards over those next 3 games, and even the game that he was injured in, the game against the Broncos, he still scored. This is crazy. He scored a 62-yard rushing touchdown, and then later hurt his knee. Like the dude was on the verge of having an epic season. And I think right now here's where the risk comes in. You got Dalvin Cook just like lurking around, and he truly could go to the Jets and nuke this. He could, but I still think it's a risk worth taking. You got Aaron Rodgers there. He supported Aaron Jones, who had, I think, 3 or 4 RB1 seasons. We've seen him as a pass catcher. I'm in on Brees. When everyone's going wide receiver heavy, you could just add Brees in the second, early third, possibly, depending on where you're drafting. And you've got the anchor RB method, the hero RB. You've got your RB locked in, RB1, and you can pepper in your other positions.
See, for me, you're right, though. Dalvin Cook, that one scares the hell out of me because
Yeah.
unless they really think Brees isn't going to be ready, they've got more than enough backups. Why the hell are they interested in Dalvin Cook unless he's not going to be ready?
Yeah, that's a valid point. Like they got Abanikanda, they got Michael Carter, and Zonovan Knight was not bad. He was a fine backup running back.
Yeah, he was
So
good.
there is a little. I'll admit there's a little concern there. This is just more of just risk it for the biscuit, go for the home run kind of a situation for me. I love the talent. He's one of my favorite backs.
I'm looking for him in Dynasty. I don't have any shares of him in redraft. He's
Mhm,
34th overall, and he just feels so risky. But I guess looking at this range here on NFFC, it's
mhm,
not that I don't like him in this range. This range of Pollard, Stevenson, Harris,
mm,
Hall, ETN, Walker, Gibbs. This is just a range where at the end of the third round seems to be where I'm transitioning to wide receiver, and
yeah.
I've just avoided this entire range of running back. It's like I
Mhm,
said, I don't not all right. It's not that I don't like Brees Hall. It's just that I don't have any of these guys. They
yeah.
all kind of scare me. I think they're all slightly overvalued, and I just kind of pass on it. What do you
I
think about
got you.
this range?
So that range, okay, I like Pollard. So I live in Dallas, and I follow the Cowboys very closely. I love Pollard. I do think he has RB1 potential, but his injury history scares me. I'm not saying he's a bad pick. I'm just saying his injury history scares me. Ramondre terrifies me because
Yep.
I can't remember who it was. It was on a podcast with Player Profiler. Gosh, it was. He came on. He said, "We're going to know how good a pick Ramondre was when the Patriots go out on their first drive, and it's 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7, and out
Is he
comes
on the
Pierre.
field?
Yeah, and who's on the field?"
Yeah.
And I'm
Ty
like,
Montgomery, we're
Ty
in trouble.
Montgomery, Pierre Strong. You see some Kevin Harris, and it's like, you know what?
Yeah.
I get that. Najee,
He's just
I'm
I
not
don't
sure
think
how to
he's
feel.
any good. It's a volume play with
Yeah,
Najee.
it's a volume play, and like, yeah, his situation's great, but it's just a volume play, so that could work. It could not. It's not as exciting, I guess.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I agree.
mhm,
All right, we're gonna move on to the one I'm interested to hear about most. We have Denver tight end Greg Dulcich was tight end 29 last year, 411 receiving yards with 2 touchdowns,
mhm.
94.1 full PPR points, good for 9.41 per game, which means he missed a lot of time. ADP is 131 overall on Fantasy Pros. Let's look him up here on NFFC. He is tight end 14, 138 overall. Tell me why I'm not completely screwed with Greg Dulcich as my tight end one in Scott Fishbowl.
You've got the next Kelsey. No, I don't know.
Oh, I hope so.
So, you ever like you kind of get lost in searching for stats and stuff, and you just find a player you love? That's what happened with me with Greg Dulcich. I'm just going to read off some stats here. Let me bring it up. Okay, so last year with the Broncos was awful, but over the second half of the year, he played 10 games. He finished 5 games as the tight end 12 or higher, which isn't a lot, but you've got a top 12 tight end. That's something. It's
Yep.
something. He had a 17% target share, which placed him just above Evan Ingram's. He played in 10 games. He finished the top 10 in route participation, slot snaps, air yard share, and average depth of target. He was 12th in overall deep targets, and that's on playing half the season, playing on just 10 games. This was all happening as that dumpster fire of a season was going on where the coaches, it was just awful.
Yeah.
Russ looked cooked. It was awful.
It was kind of painful.
It was kind of painful. Yeah, I felt bad for him, honestly. And the team, they brought Adam Troutman from the Saints. He's going to be more of an inline guy. That's his skill set. He's going to be a blocker. Sean Payton deemed Dulcich the Joker, which essentially his mismatch guy. Reggie Bush was a joker. Darren Sproles was a joker. Jimmy Graham was a joker. Back to Marquise Colston. Remember that? The old guys do.
Oh no! Don't you smack talk Marcus Colston?
Hey, no, he was a dude. He was a dude.
I've got a jersey in the background, and he's, with the exception of maybe Drew Brees, he is my favorite player of all time. I'm a Saints fan.
Oh, okay, yeah. See, no, he was a dude, and it's like, okay, if we're gonna use this guy as a mismatch,
Yeah,
all over the field, a former receiver, and something else. Something else about Dulcich that's just kind of cool, and you can think about this with your other tight end selections. You want target competition off the field, and when you can get a tight end like Dulcich that plays so much in the slot, it removes a receiver that would normally be on the field. So when they would normally have Tim Patrick in the slot, well, let's get Dulcich out, and it's one less target he has to worry about, one less route that would be on there. So I'm in on Dulcich to finish as a top 10 tight end this year. And the guy that he keeps getting compared to is Chig Okonkwo.
yeah.
His snap share, I want to bring this up here. Chig Okonkwo finished 66th among total snap share in the NFL among tight ends. He finished 138th in routes run, averaging 8 per game. You want your tight ends to be on the field, running routes, catching passes. You want them involved. And I like Chig, but those metrics aren't the best if you're really wanting like an upside late pick.
I think two things, both about Marcus Colston. The first reason is why he was my favorite player, for that exact reason you said. I got him my first year playing fantasy football, stacked with Drew Brees. He was listed as a tight end all season. I started him as my tight end when he finished as wide receiver like 4 or something, and it was wonderful. But I guess the second one wasn't Marcus Colston, it was a Saints take, but I liked Dulcich a lot better before the Sean Payton signing. I'm a Saints fan. Sean Payton's my favorite. But having said that, the fact that he brought Troutman with him scares the hell out of me.
Okay.
I know how he got locked into Taysom Hill. He gets locked into Troutman or Johnson or whoever the hell it is. He gets locked in on these guys, and it scares me that maybe Troutman's going to be more of a problem. I think Dulcich is way better, but the fact that he brought him scares the living shit out of me, which is why I don't really have any shares of Dulcich, even though I like the talent. So I hope you're right, and I hope I'm wrong. And like I said, I have no basis other than the fact that, the way he operated when he was still coach of the Saints.
Yeah.
Next up, we're going to get to a dud. Someone I have as one of my duds. Can't stand this guy. We have San Fran wide receiver Deebo Samuel, was wide receiver 40 last year, 232 rushing yards, 632 through the air, 2 touchdowns, 157.4 full PPR points, good for 12.11 per game. Current
Mm-hmm.
Fantasy Pros ADP is 36 overall.
Mm-hmm.
Before I ask you anything, I'm going to switch off and bring up the ADP because I
Yeah.
think I've done Debo before in this, and I make the same case of why he's a dud for me. And it's a very simple case. If you see this this is NFFC.
Uh-huh.
We got Debo, wide receiver 16,
God.
37 overall.
Ugh.
Scroll down, scroll down, scroll down, scroll down. See the guy on his team who finished above him? He's wide receiver 32 going 69. Ayuk at 69, Debo at 37. Any questions?
Make it make sense.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. He's living off of the value of one good season in a contract year.
Bro, you're exactly like I'm gonna sound like a mirror. Like, okay, so it was 2021.
Yeah.
He had that great season. They put him at running back. He was just crushing souls. It was fun
Yeah.
to watch because
Well, they
Debo's a
had no one
fun player
else.
to watch. But they had no one else. And then last year they added Christian McCaffrey, and it was just like a total shift.
Yep.
There was a lot less. He averaged, I had it up here, he had only 2 carries per game once they added CMC. And his usage just went completely down. He did have some injury concerns, but my main thing is like you were talking about, it's the ADP. Like, Debo's fun, he's great to watch, but it's the ADP. You're talking about he's high up. I mean, I'm trying to bring up your list here, but like, I'd rather have Amari Cooper. I'd rather have risk it with DJ Moore, and you don't even know what's going on with the Bears offense
Yep.
because you're not sure what to expect there. And one other thing I wanted to point out with Debo, he was 35th in route win rate in his big breakout season in 2021. It was number 82 last year.
Jesus.
There's just, I don't know
One
if
of
it was
those years.
I don't know what it was. And it just feels like we're drafting him from 2 years ago. If Debo falls and you see him in the 5th, okay, cool. But the way the ADP is, you're not going to see that.
Yeah, I have no shares of him. I'm actively avoiding him. Not only do I not particularly care for him, I really don't like him at this ADP. I don't like. There's players. He's wide receiver 16. I think I got to go all the way down to like maybe George Pickens is where George Pickens, Mike Evans. That's where I finally find a player where I wouldn't take them. Even
Yeah.
Mike Evans, I'd probably take Evans. Hollywood Brown, maybe Treylon Burks. I don't know after today. Who knows? But
Yeah.
I'm out on Debo. Debo's just not my guy. So I think that
Yeah.
one was an easy case. So we can transition here to your last guy. To see this one's going to be weird because he's not necessarily a dud for me, but we have Rams running back Cam Akers, RB 35 last year, 786 rushing yards, 117 through the air, 7 touchdowns, 155.8 full PPR points, good for 10.39 per game. ADP on Fantasy Pros is 56 overall. Was it last year or the year before where he got in the doghouse? Was that the beginning of last season?
It was last season. That's exactly. There was rumors. They were like, we don't know where he is. Sean McVay wasn't saying anything. Everyone was quiet. And there was like, is this guy retiring? Did this guy leave? Is he okay? Like nobody knew what happened. But yeah, I don't know if he left the team. I don't know if it was a team suspension.
I think they sent him home at one point.
Yeah, I think that was it. Yeah, it was like they just sent him home. Let me get. Okay, so the layout of Cam just looks awesome because it's like, oh, there's nobody there. This guy could work. And you think, okay, we can get it. And like the last game of the season, he had 100% snap share. And did some very interesting research. I did some digging on this. There were only 2 running backs to do 100% snap share in 2021 and 2020, or excuse me, no, 2021. Najee Harris. You know who the other guy was though?
Who?
Sony Michel with the Rams.
Jesus.
So
they just brought him back too.
Like, I'm not saying Sonny Michel's a threat, but I'm saying he might be more than we realize. And I'm not saying he's great. I'm just saying like the team trusts him. They drafted Zach Evans in the 6th. He is a 6th-round running back. I'm just saying this team, they're all in on Caleb Williams or whatever Drake May, whatever
Yeah.
quarterback's going to be going first in the draft. I think they're punting this year. So I'm not sure if they care, but if you're going to want to grab a running back in an offense, maybe get an offense that's going to like. I'm looking at like Antonio Gibson and Alvin Kamara. They're going 2 rounds later. I know Kamara's got an eventual suspension, but it's like, but Gibson, you can get a usable back on maybe a slightly better offense, maybe, and you at least know that he's going to have a role. Akers, he might wake up tomorrow and they'll be like, "Hey, I had to leave the team. Hey, we aren't sure what happened. Hey, he was thinking about retirement, but we brought him back." You just don't know what to expect with him, and that just kind of scares me. I shy away from that.
That's completely terrifying. So you're not saying Akers is a threat. All right. I forgot. Sony Michel. You're not saying Sony Michel is a threat, but you're saying Sony Michel is a threat.
It's
not gonna be good.
They used him. They used him for 100% of the snaps. Like everyone keeps pointing to that this summer about Cam Akers getting that. Like there's literally a guy on the team that did that before a year ago, 2 years ago, and it's like it's there. They'll do it.
Oh yeah. See, that's I think I have a few shares of Akers, but it's more because he tends to fall into the round where I need a running back because I'm not really a big early running back kind of guy. So he falls into the round, the range where I'm like, fuck, I really need someone. And then I'll look and I'll say, Cam Akers, he's not the worst. So that should be kind of the slogan here for Cam Akers. He's not the worst.
Yeah, you could do worse.
Not the worst. Yeah, you could do worse. I'm pretty sure that was my wedding vows. That's another story. So yeah, I not too sure. It's another one where there's a lot of scary situations this year in fantasy, let me tell you that, and he's definitely one of them. So
yeah, absolutely.
All right, well, thank you very much, Jonathan, for joining me. You want to take one more shot here? Tell everyone where they can find you and your work.
Yeah, so again, you can follow me on Twitter at Fourth and Lang, and I do most of my work at Player Profiler. You can check me out there, and like I said, I just had an article come out on underdog ADP values, risers and fallers. Check it out if you're in the best ball streets.
I don't know how many times I had to search you on Twitter before I realized your tag was Fourth and Lang. I searched Jonathan Lange. I searched Jonathan. I searched Lang. I searched everything. And I went to the Player Profiler staff directory and clicked on you. And I said, Fourth and Lang. Fuck, I knew that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I need to probably fix that. But
No, it's not. I knew it. I just kept forgetting. And then I went to type it in. I was like, son of a bitch. I knew that. So. Well, thank you again for joining me. This has been Studs and Duds with Jonathan Lange. Once again, I am Aaron St. Dennis, the FF Mad Scientist, and this has been the Mad Science Lab podcast. Take care, everyone.